welcome to the monthly competitive update. If this is the first time you're joining us, you should probably know that we host this on the first Thursday of every month. The topics are very fluid. We try to remain very current and have it based on the most recent news that we've got in the space. But we're also open to topics as you suggest. So you can feel free to send us topics. You can reach us at compete@click.com if there's anything in particular you'd like to cover. So I will go through just a little housekeeping. This is a live event. We are here speaking live. It's not recorded. The recording will be available generally tomorrow, generally the day after the webinar, and will be available on the partner portal for 3 months afterwards. Audience in here is always on mute, but you can, and we really, really encourage you to interact with us by putting questions in the Q&A widget on your screen. Some we will answer in the moment so that the person presenting can get your question and answer it right away. Others, if they aren't really on the topic we're talking about, we'll hold to the end, but we will get to all your questions as long as we can get them all within the hour. One thing to note is the questions that you post are private. Nobody else can see what you're posting. So if you're a little shy, don't worry. We won't expose who you are. We'll just read the question that you've asked and get an answer. If you need closed captioning, you can turn it on. There's a little CC at the bottom of your screen to turn on closed captioning. All of the widgets that you see on the screen can be resized. You can also expand the main screen to full screen by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner. One other thing, just so we can get, gauge your feedback, please make sure to complete the very short 5-question survey at the end. Here's your panel today. Today you have the entire competitive team at Click. David's joining us. Hi, David.
Hello.
And I've got Ricardo as well.
Hello.
Before we jump into the content, I just want to recap the competitive resources that are available to you. Of course, there's lots of content on the partner portal. So if you go into the resources section, you can actually filter by competitive content. You can find battle cards and more in-depth content on a lot of our competitors. There's also a competitive section with videos. And I'm happy to, if you don't know how to find the videos, you can send an email to compete@click.com, and I'm happy to give you basic instructions to walk through it. The other thing is we can't put everything we know in content, so there's still a lot that we can help you with. If you can't find an answer to your question, you're more than welcome to email us at compete@click.com. That's open to all partners. And we are happy to get involved in your opportunities at a deeper level, whether it's helping you devise a strategy for how to approach an opportunity or an account, or even if you want to get us on the phone with your champions or your customer. The other thing is, for some of the larger partners out there, we are happy to do custom webinars for you on a schedule and an agenda that is fit for you. So just very quickly, we're going to go through the Tableau updates, both product and the resourcing issues that they've been going through. David's then going to talk about Click Cloud Data Integration versus DBT, and Ricardo will come up the back with the Microsoft Power BI update. So just because there's a lot of you that may not have met us before, let's face it, it's been a while since we've been in person at a Click World. We'll take a little time, each of us, to reintroduce ourselves. I'm Katie McKenzie. By the way, we are all competitive intelligence managers. We're peers. There's no real leader or whatever here. I've been with BI since 1995, doing BI and analytics. I started in Cognos, did 7 years of first, second, third, and fourth level technical support. I'd soon joined Cognos on the competitive team there in 2002. So I've been more than 20 years doing competitive intelligence and sales coaching. My focus really has been very strongly around supporting partners and the sales cycle. been with Click since 2013, but more importantly, we all work to live, and I'm an avid scuba diver, golfer, and photographer. Those are the things I like to do off work time. So let's talk about Tableau. And I talk about the slow demise of Tableau's autonomy, and it's been slow, but we've seen it coming. Early after the merger, kind of October 2020, Salesforce decided to merge the Tableau and Einstein product teams. It made sense. Tableau was costing an awful lot of money. They were spending nearly 40% of their revenue on R&D. And so merging those two teams, in my mind, helped with two things. One, the cost of getting product to market, but also bringing the Einstein Discovery and Einstein Analytics product knowledge into the Tableau team to help them do better integration with the Salesforce stack. Shortly after they merged those teams, the senior leadership team was gutted. A few of them departed on their own and retired, in the case of Andrew Beers, for example, but many of them were cut and were never let go. The ones that I list here, Dan Miller, EVP of Sales, he's kind of in a consultative role with Salesforce right now, but only on a short-term contract. He's cut. Their EVP of Corporate Development and Strategy, gone since June. Mark Jewett, he's the product and partner marketing guy, gone. Mark Nelson, let go in December, and there was some questions about whether he quit or he was dismissed. But then news in various articles came out bringing some clarity about that. Salesforce did do the layoffs in January. There were 10% across the board, but the rumors were that more than 20% of Tableau staff was let go. So that Tableau and others like Slack were unequally hit by the layoffs. I loved this article because that's one of the places I got the clarity. Chief Executive Officer Mark Nelson was ousted from the data analytics division, and more senior staff were axed. Now, Mark Nelson was the only one that actually made the news. This article gave us some more clarity. And this guy, John DeFucci, says that it was given Tableau's performance. They were already not growing new business when they were acquired, and they continued not growing new business. So there's a lot of people gone from Salesforce or from Tableau, and the reality is that now all of Tableau is reporting into Salesforce. There's none of those real heavy hitters, none of the strong voices to advocate for Tableau customers anymore, or to advocate for Tableau products. And Tableau products predominantly in the past have been developed based on user feedback. And they have a really strong user community, and that user community has been able to suggest new features, and those new features have been getting into the products quite a bit. But now we see, and this quote at the bottom comes from somebody on Twitter, and he said that users are voicing displeasure with the new features that are mostly focused around integrations instead of the quality of life improvements that have been sitting on the ideas page. So while Tableau pre-2019 was able to do a lot of stuff that users were recommending, now they can't. They are really, their hands are tied behind their back, and they really have to go down the path of what Salesforce wants. And you can see that in the new features that are coming out. So new features, many of them are catch up though to what's already on the market and what's already on the market with Click. External actions, for example, and that external action is part new feature to compete with application automation, but it's actually part integration as well, because the external actions only trigger Salesforce flow actions, which are Salesforce specific. They can now load inline images. Well, we've been able to do that since ClickView, but that the announcement of that new feature got wild applause at one of the user conferences. They now are delivering usage metrics. We've been doing that for a long time. They've added additional features in web authoring, but they're still not zero footprint. You still need the desktop, though you still can't do everything in the web editing. The integration with their AutoML, I'll call it, but it's not really AutoML. That is Einstein Analytics. So again, even their new features are integration points, and again, catch up. And their Einstein Discovery only works with Salesforce data, and it's not really AutoML. The one that's most interesting and most telling about some of the deficiencies in Tableau is they are integrating with LookML, but that also tells you about deficiency with Looker as well. Looker's not great on the visualization side, and Tableau's really not great on the metadata side. So that integration with LookML, where Tableau will be able to look into, to leverage the LookML data model, is telling about what the future of Tableau holds. Incidentally, Power BI has also implemented this ability. Looker's opened it up to Power BI as well. On the integration point, though, as you can see, the font is smaller. It's deliberately smaller to show that this is Salesforce's main game, is they're trying to sell more Salesforce. So the very first thing is they improved the API to Salesforce data. Tableau was always horrible at Salesforce data, and they never really got much better because, of course, Salesforce data is transactional, and Tableau's not good with transactional data. They want more of a star schema or Snowflake, more data warehousey than transactional. They released dashboard starters for Salesforce. They added additional Salesforce sources, so not just the CRM. They've got the marketing data and the customer data in there as well. They've got the Viz Lightning web component, Einstein Discovery, Salesforce Flow, Slack, and most recently there is Tableau visualization layer for Salesforce Genie Data Cloud. So as you can see, their focus has really been around Salesforce integration, not around delivering new features. And the user community really is not happy about that. So they aren't independent. There is a leadership vacuum over there, and given that leadership vacuum, they've lost more and more autonomy. You can see just by all the headlines there, is Tableau toast? Is Tableau dead? This is the sentiment in the market, and their fans are losing faith. And that's a really important thing to note, is they've had typical fans, and it's one of the things that's made them go viral within accounts, is their fans have really driven Tableau adoption. But they're not so much fans now. So minimal innovation beyond Salesforce. They've scaled back staffing levels, including the subject matter expert, those knowledge roles that the customers relied upon. It was already, even before this massive layoff, Gartner noted in their Magic Quadrant last year that it was already difficult for customers to find Tableau-specific support, and this is going to make it even worse. When you go into these accounts, and incidentally, there is a Tableau replacement PowerPoint deck on the partner portal that you can access. And of course, we're more than happy to help walk you through that if you have any questions. But when you go into these accounts and you encounter these Tableau fans, really be gentle. They have lost their home, or they're losing their home. They feel like they're losing their home. And one of the things that made them so enamored with Tableau was the way that Tableau treated them and the way that Tableau made them feel special. And so it's really important that you be gentle with these people. You got to help them be equally or more successful with Click. Help them through that transition. They can make that transition, especially the gurus in Tableau. You have to be pretty technical to be a guru in Tableau. And if they are pretty technical on the Tableau side, they can very easily become the champion and the expert in Click. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to David Howland. I'm also going to put in a reminder that you can ask questions at any time during the presentation. And David, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. Katie, can you see and hear me okay?
I can hear you okay, but I can't see your video.
Okay, got it.
But that's maybe my presenter
Understood.
panel.
Awesome.
Okay.
Folks, hello, my name is Dave Howland, and I am today going to talk a little bit about cloud data integration versus DBT. And Katie, if you can go to the next slide. What we will see is, first of all, I want to tell you a little about who I am, right? My name is Dave Howland. I've been on the competitive intelligence team for about a year now, and I have a strong programming background. I've worked with data warehouses far and wide for years, and I have lots of experience in verticals like energy and technology and banking, and I've also done application development in each one of those. I've been in Qlik pre-sales for about 5 years, and that is spread across 2 different products, that being the data integration team and the catalog team. So this is a sweet spot for me, and I am super excited today to talk to you a little bit about Qlik Sense Cloud integration and DBT. If you could, let's move on to the next slide, Katie. One of the foundations of Qlik Cloud data integration and DBT is this idea that they want to help you build a data warehouse. When you're thinking about analytics, not every customer, not every prospect, not every partner, not every technical person believes that a data warehouse is, entirely necessary. But I do want to be clear that thousands upon thousands of customers and companies have chosen data warehouses as the centerpiece of their data engineering pipelines. And what I'm really trying to say is when you think about a product like Qlik Cloud Data Integration and you think about a product like DBT, what they are looking to do most aptly is to move data into a fashion where it can be pulled for analytics. Data comes in denormalized, and you want to go through the process of normalizing that data, and you want to build it into an analytics-ready data set. And the idea is for a data warehouse, this is something that you want to do at scale. So when you do it at scale, most customers have chosen to put their data warehouse in a Snowflake. They've chosen to put their data warehouse in a Synapse or a Databricks or what have you. When you think about building those data warehouses, you want to consider a tool like DBT, and you want to consider a tool like cloud data integration. And what you want to do is say, with that cloud data integration, let's think about what DBT's strengths are, okay, for just a moment. I'm going to dive into what DBT does in a minute, but they consider their strengths to be easy to onboard. They believe that if you were to try to build an automated data warehouse process, that DBT would be easy to onboard. It has strong workflow controls, and it has strong documentation and community support. If you talk to the pundits, they will tell you you can have DBT running in 10 minutes. With a credit card and a user ID and a connection string, you're off to the races. But what I'd like you to do is take a second and actually just think about what that really means, because there are costs that are implied in this whole process that are not immediately evident to people in the data engineering pipeline. Next slide, Katie. And to back that up, these are the strengths that I was just referring to. If you think about it, easy to onboard. If you think about it, Jinja, Python, and plugins are all the terms that you need to use to actually do DBT strengths. And they have this idea of community support. When it comes to cloud data integration, be it DBT or Click Cloud data integration, these are not the things that make up the complete list of things you need to look at, though. Next slide, Katie. If we look at Click Cloud data integration, we can see that there are a number of different ideas and permutations to these kinds of data engineering pipelines. What are my governance concerns when comparing the two? What are my scale concerns when comparing the two? How do the two handle incremental data or data privacy? What happens if I can't get business buy-in from my downstream consumers? How easy is this product to actually operate? There are a number of different things that you could kind of think about when building these data engineering pipelines to automate your data warehousing. And I'm going to focus on 3 things today just to kind of level set everybody. If we could, let's move on to the next slide, Katie. And what we are going to say is for DBT, we have for this comparison, we have easy install and first steps. I'm going to take a deeper dive into. How do you minimize costs inside of your data warehousing automation process? How do these tools handle incremental? There are absolutely some devil in the details when it comes to this kind of stuff, but I do want to kind of start off with the first of them, which is how do you use DBT? What is it actually made up of? If we go to the next slide, Katie, this would be DBT first steps. And if you noted, there's 2 forms of DBT. One is called DBT Core and the other one is called DBT Cloud. And DBT Cloud runs entirely in the cloud with no real setup at all. But DBT Core, which is free, by the way, actually installs on a local user's machine. And what you as a responsible user need to do is you need to set up pip. You need to manage all these processes with YAML files and SQL files and environment files and Jinja and pip. And to be clear, when you think about application engineering, which is what DBT Core actually calls its users, application engineers, these are people who are running things entirely in command line. So before, a minute ago, folks, I talked a little bit about how a strength in DBT was actually the strong community and the strong documentation that it has. And I agree, it's an absolutely strong competitor, especially in that way. But when it comes to this kind of command line mechanism, you need as much help and support as you can get. And I just want to be clear that when it comes to DBT Core, you're using entirely command line. If you look at something like Click Cloud data integration, next slide, Katie. I want you to note that this is an entirely GUI-based application. So Click Cloud data integration, I did a session on it a few weeks ago, and there's absolutely more data in there about it. You're more than welcome to reach out to me and I'll point you to it. But the idea is when it comes to all your different sources inside of Click, be it Oracle or Salesforce or Mainframe or SAP, you need to hydrate your data warehouse as strongly as you can, but you also need it to transform. You need it to build automatically into data warehouses. So we at Click have automatic related entities. In our transform layers, you can build gold, silver, and bronze layers. DB2 can do nothing like that. We have clear error messaging indicating where in a pipeline something might actually need adjustment. And we have seamless integration with ClickSense. So if you wanted to actually build a data mart inside of ClickSense, inside of Click Cloud data integration, it would easily be able to be moved over into ClickSense and analytically looked at over there. The idea is, I want to be clear, this is command line versus GUI. or a graphical user interface. And I kind of say, if I have 1,000 objects, if I have 1,000 tables, I do not want 1,000 JSON files. I want 1,000 tiles that I can move around a little bit. Okay. So to be clear, I also think there's another dimension to this. This is the initial setup and this is the initial operation of the products. But if you take a look at cost, can you go to the next slide, Katie, please? If you look at cost, what you're going to see is that cost is a very tricky concern because costs are made up of both the DBT costs, which for DBT Cloud is $100 per user. Now, I need to be clear, it doubled just recently from $50 to $100. The DBT Core, which is the on-premise version of the product, entirely is free. But I need to be clear, that is not where the real concern is. The real concern is how these products help you use and leverage your cloud data warehouses. Because you could easily have a DBT that costs you $100 a month and you believe you're saving money, but your cloud bills from Snowflake might be in the thousands of dollars when they don't necessarily need to be. How does Qlik actually help you manage that? We help you manage that with something called superior materialization selection. I need to be clear. I'm gonna go off on a bit of a data integration path here, but it's extremely important because it could literally this could double your Snowflake bill, and that is if you decide to build a materialized or non-materialized table. Having that selection is a lot easier inside of something like Qlik Cloud Data Integration than it is in DBT. And we actually manage something called live views, which are predicated a little bit. You can find them in Databricks as well. But we actually have this idea of live views. And what we do is we manually add data, and it gives you a historical understanding of how things change over time. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. We have stronger visualization with automatic related entities. So there's not going to be a chance that a user is going to misassociate some linking between two tables, because at the end of the day, if you have a data warehouse that's costing you millions and millions of dollars a year, but it's making you millions and millions of dollars a year, one errant linking could actually cause a lot of systemic issues in that. And you want this to be as simple and as understandable as it can be. To that end, when the data mart is actually produced by Qlik Cloud Data Integration, we have a graphical cloud catalog which can actually pull the data and it can profile the data for you. It can spit out base reports for you. All of that is integrated. You're not going to find any of that inside of DBT. When it comes to costs, there's a myriad of things that you need to think about, but I want you to be clear that with Qlik, you are able to dive deep into that and keep track and control of those costs. Okay, next slide, Katie. So if you were to look at something inside of, specifically inside of DBT versus Qlik Cloud Data Integration, one thing that everybody is interested in is the concept of change data, okay? I am hydrating my base tables from Oracle ERP. I'm hydrating them from SAP. I'm pulling data in from SQL Server. I have just had so many sources that I'm pulling data in. When I pull it in, I'm not done. There are changes going on in those systems all the time. How does that really impact these two products? With DBT, you need to set up incremental data in a very meticulous and careful fashion. if you were to Google, because I've done this before, folks, if you were to Google how to set up incremental data inside of DBT, you would find literally 5 different ways to do it, each one of them as complicated as the last. And the idea is you need to set this all up in advance. To be clear, if you wanted to keep track of this kind of thing in Qlik Cloud Data Integration, with our live views, it is organic. When a change comes in, we simply stack it on top of the last. That's the beauty of live views. Later on, when you want to get the data, we can give you a query that will pull a replica of the source, or we'll pull a base version and then stack all the changes and more in a change table type version. And this becomes super important when you're doing something that I consider advanced analytics. Analytics have gone to the point where you need to have an understanding of what has changed in your environment. Meaning, if a member ID signed up for something and they, bought 100 different items and then they canceled their membership, right? It is an important thing to understand what happened historically with that member ID. And with Qlik's operational data store and historical data store, which are those 2 views that I was talking about, you can do both of those things quite easily with no setup at all. There's also this concept of what we call late arriving dimensions. That means if I have data that's coming in from multiple sources and they are tied to each other in some kind of dimensional model fashioning, if I see that the product is not in a sales record, I will hold that data and update it later. That kind of setup is automatic, GUI driven, and it is something that is built into Qlik Cloud Data Integration. So all of this stuff scales well, and it has powerful functionality. And I want to be clear, I did not want to go over every one of those different dimensions, but again, we are here for you. So if you're looking at that slide and you're saying, I want to know more about how Qlik Cloud Data Integration handles governance or business buy-in or data privacy, I am here for you, and I'm more than happy to actually, have one-on-ones, or if we want to do this in another meeting, we can do that, whatever works. Katie, next slide, please. So in conclusion, what we're thinking is that with Qlik Cloud Data Integration, we've heard that we have a better interface, a GUI interface to transform data. We have a mechanism that can transform data at scale, and with incremental processing, our scale matches way better than something like a DBT does. And we are already keeping customers' bottom line when it comes to Snowflake in mind. When it comes to your cloud vendor, those bills are becoming increasingly important. So I do want to say, if you want to read more about Qlik Cloud Data Integration, there's a link right there for you to our public website. I am here for you. The team is here for you. And please stop by and learn more at Qlik World. Katie, I'll pass it back to you. And thank you.
Well, actually, thanks, David. But it's actually going to pass over to Ricardo now. Ricardo, over to you.
Hello. So good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for attending this session. Thank you, David. Thank you, Katie. Katie, next slide, please. So about me, for those of you that don't know me, I've been with Qlik for a while. I've been doing a lot of roles within Qlik. I started as pre-sales. I then did partner management, account management. So I've been working with some of you in the field directly with opportunities in the local region. I'm also a data geek that I've been working with in the BI and data warehousing space for a while now. There's my gray hair. It's showing that. I forgot that you are not watching the video. Sorry. And in the end, I have some experience with working with you guys, and that have been very profitable in the past times. So next slide, please, Katie. So we are going to talk a little bit of what Power BI has been doing in the past months and what is expected to happen during this year. So we'll start with what has been released and what that also means for us as a company and as a product, and for you to go out to the field and use it to your advantage. One of the first things that Microsoft has been doing is their slow migration of everything that is on-prem to the cloud. Like you all know, Microsoft's main business is Azure, so everything needs to go there so that their evaluation as a company grows in a bigger way, so that they can start to compete more head-to-head with Amazon in that market share perspective. And so what they have been doing is some of their oldest products are being migrated to Azure in some form. So one of the products that was migrated a while ago as a direct migration, like going from on-prem to the cloud, was SQL Server Analysis Services. So there was a version of analysis services, there is a version of analysis service in Azure, but what they are trying to do now is that they are trying to migrate users from analysis services to build those data sets and those business logics into Power BI. That way, they will be able to get more people to be dependent on Power BI and have their data on Azure in an easier way. So, as some of you might know, Power BI as a whole is an evolution of analysis services. So, the engine behind the Power BI is analysis service. So, what they are trying to do now is that people that have things installed within analysis services, they migrated to Power BI Premium. That means that the majority of the users, of the customers of Power BI that are just working with Power BI Pro will need to make that transition to Premium, and then for that pay more for their current licensing. So that migration, they have a tool that migrates the data, but in the end, what happens every time there is a big change like this, like migrating from the on-premise to the cloud or something like that, there's a chance for the customers to reevaluate their strategy and their architecture. So I think this is an opportunity. If your customers are thinking about that, there's an opportunity for you to go there and first of all, tell them that they will have more costs because they will need to go premium with that. And second, that they will be even more locked into Microsoft. So if you're going into a Power BI Premium for your data sets, you won't be able to then have other products being connected to that as easily. I know that Power BI Premium has what they call XLMA endpoints that are similar to analysis service, but it's not the same. It doesn't have all the capabilities of connecting to as analysis services do. So I think that if there is a migration opportunity here, it's time to go and make some FUD and take that opportunity to discuss that with your customers. Another thing that they have been working on is the way to do loading data into Power BI. So there are the basic way to load data. What the majority of the people uses is you have Power BI Desktop, you create your data model using the dataset builder from the Power BI desktop. That's the basic situation. Then you have on the Power BI service in the cloud, you have Power BI Flow. The data flow. Data flow is a way to connect to some data sources. Not every data sources that are available to Power BI desktop are available on the data flow, and you have a more visual way to move data into a repository that is an Azure repository, and then Power BI can go there and load connect to the entities that were created, and then load data into Power BI. That's a second one, and now they have been releasing this data marts modeling. What data marts modeling is a way to recreate the business logic that analysis services was making available, like creating info cubes, data marts, and all that. Data marts is that way to build those business logic into Power BI. So that's a third way to move data into Power BI, and that means that it's a very different way of working than with the data flows and with the dataset builder. So that's a different skill set. It's different way of building things, and then it's a third point on the data pipeline that makes it more complicated, more points of failure, and more ways that things can go wrong when you go and load your data. So I think you have an opportunity here to explore the simplicity of our Qlik data integration, the way that we can work together. We don't need so much this data marts layer. It's not so critical for Qlik for the majority of our use cases, and because the associative engine can solve more complex questions without having to put that logic into the data set. So that's a second area where they've been working. They have also developed during last year, they've released one thing that they call Power BI metrics. Power BI metrics, it's like a vision. I remember when I looked at this for the first time. I remember when I started in BI 20 years ago, when everyone was talking about Tableau de bord, and that's what's reminding me of this. Like it's basically an object within Power BI where you can define your metrics and monitor your evolution. That's a good tool. It has some use cases that are interesting. But what it does, it's that limits the way that you can explore your data. This is this is an object that can be placed into the hub so that you can have outside of any application. When you join the Microsoft Power BI app, you get that monitoring in your place. What Qlik does is that they can go much further, because you can go and choose whatever metric that is important to you and monitor on your app. So you don't need to be limited to the ones that someone defined as those critical, those more important, or those relevant that might not be relevant for your department. And so you have much more flexibility to go and choose whatever you want to monitor on your app. So we have that advantage here with the Power BI over the Power BI metrics. The fourth one, I think it's a very important topic, is around integration with Office. So one of the things that I hear a lot from customers and some of you partners is that Microsoft's integration with Office is key for some of the deals to which we lost to Power BI. And so one of the things that I think it's important to highlight is that they have some level of integration. Some of them are interesting, but the majority of the integration are not more than just a button with Power BI where you go and embed a URL to have an iframe within your product. That's what happens, for instance, with PowerPoint. I don't call that an integration. It's just like an iframe within the product, and so that it's not that relevant in the end when you are using it. We can do that also, so it's not that important. The one that has been evolving a little more, it's Teams. Teams, they have Power BI as an ability to have it as an application on the left side. That's a good shortcut for the product, and then you have access to the applications that you have there. So it's interesting, but it limits you to explore your data. If you need self-service, you will always need to go back to the desktop and make the changes to the objects. While with Click, you can also embed a tab within a team, within Teams, to place the full application there, and you have the full self-service capability available to you if you have the proper rights to access it. So I think that even if our integration, it's not so apparent, it's not so obvious, it's not so on your face, I think that we have some capabilities that are very useful with integration with Office. Having said that, I think that we need to have some improvements on this side. So if we want to get better at showing that we really have a good integration with Office. Let us see if we have some evolution on this. So this was the main topics of what Power BI has been doing in the last months. And now with the next slide, we will go to the what's expected to come up during this year. Thank you, Katie. So about what's coming, there is some buzz in social media. There were some people sharing some information about the new visualizations that will come up. It's a project that's been developed with its target 2024. I'm not sure if something will come up during this year. I'm expecting that something, at least public previews, will come up. I'm not sure if it's a new visualization engine or if it's just a new way to build the objects. But we will expect some new visualizations to come. One of the things that I think it's important for us to understand is that the majority of the times when we go and see visualizations from Power BI, a lot of them are made from partners. So they have a community of people deploying new visualizations, and Power BI does a good job of promoting those visualizations to be used within the organizations. And so they don't have that huge deal of great visualizations that are different or better than Clicks or Tableau or others. What they do is that they promote very well what the partners are doing. If you have an idea, so for you to have an idea, when there is a release every time from Power BI Desktop, if they have like 10 new things, around 2 or 3 or 4 sometimes are partner-related stuff. That's an interesting point of view that I think it's very, very useful. But the fact is that the product doesn't have out of the box all those things. And being add-ons, even if they are certified in some way by Microsoft, there's still a lot of dependency for the visualization piece of third parties to be deployed. I think in this situation, we can provide out of the box a more structured set of visualization, advanced visualizations, not just those pretty things like to show flags or something like that, really proper analytics that we can provide in a better way in terms of visualization. Second piece, I think they will continue this journey of this pseudo integration into Office. I think they will continue to place Power BI buttons everywhere to give the idea that it's a very integrated product within the Office. One of their goals that they were stated a couple of years ago is that to make Power BI become the PowerPoint of data. So it's like every time someone wants to do something with data, they will use Power BI. That is an interesting perspective if we think about it, because that means that they are targeting Power BI for the very basic situations. They are targeting Power BI for the individual usage of analytics. So that's what PowerPoint does. PowerPoint is an individual productivity tool. It's made for someone create stuff then to share with others, but share it in an individual way, not corporate way, not an enterprise-wide solution like Qlik can provide. So I think that this path of Microsoft will be difficult for us to handle in terms of it will be more spread across the organizations. There will be more people knowing Power BI in advance before they even know about Qlik. But in the end, that will solve their individual problems, their basic needs, and not the corporate enterprise analytics solutions that we can provide with Qlik. A third piece here that I think is relevant is that desktop is their key component. They will continue to use it as long as they will have Excel on-prem and the PowerPoint on the desktop and all that. They will keep Power BI as a critical component. What they are trying to do is to fill some of the huge gaps that they have of the product between Power BI desktop capabilities and Power BI authoring capabilities on the cloud. So I think they will try to fill some of that gap, but that gap is huge. So I think it will take some time, but we will see something coming up on that space. And the fourth one, it's a pure speculation. I don't have any basis to say this. I haven't seen it anywhere. But I think that we will have OpenAI, and with such a trend around ChatGPT and the investment that Microsoft has been doing with the OpenAI, I bet that there will be something called GPT something within Power BI. Like Microsoft does this well, so I think they will not miss the opportunity to have something with the name of a big hype brought into the product. The result, I'm not sure if it will be that great and that useful, but there will be a good marketing functionality for them to sell. So this is just a speculation of my side. I think that we have a very strong and coherent path into the artificial intelligence, machine learning space. We are developing things that make sense on the usability process of using an analytics tool like ours. An example of how things are very different between Power BI and Qlik. The Q&A object, that's the natural language processing that they have, it's an object. So someone, the author, needs to decide, I want the end user, to be able to ask questions with this object. So I will drag this into the dashboard and make it available. While with Qlik, our way of doing this is that AI is supposed to be helping the user to make decisions. So we have the Insight Advisor available in every situation, and you don't need to be an author. You don't need to be a special user to be able to ask questions to the system, and no one else needs to make that decision if you are allowed or not to ask questions to the system. It's always there. It's always available on the context of your analysis. So I think that this is a different approach to this space, and I think that we are doing a path that really supports use cases, while Microsoft sometimes uses these hype buzzwords that to do it a good marketing like they always been doing. So this is my prediction, if you may call it, for the 2023. And with the next slide, Katie, please. Some housekeepers reminders. So this is a live event. We have questions available for you, like Katie has already mentioned. The recording will be made available for you tomorrow, and it will last around 3 months. It doesn't make sense to keep it more time because things change, so this will be completely useless in some months. So this is we are always on mute, but you can ask the questions that we go and answer them to you. There's a widget there with the Q&A. Please keep them coming. And the other users cannot see the questions. I reminded of that, so we can keep you anonymous. In the end, we have five question survey. Please let us know what you think about this event.
Thanks, Ricardo. And yes, can you, for everybody, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the Q&A. There was a comment that was posted just after the Tableau stuff, more of a reminder, just that, Tableau didn't start off really well with Salesforce. They didn't have a strength around reporting on Salesforce data. It's still not really their strength because of course it's a transactional system. Qlik has always had a great strength around Salesforce. So this is something you can still take to the bank with customers, even if it's a Salesforce account. Of course, we've got a lot of other advantages over Salesforce as well. I just want to remind you, this is a monthly webinar, first Thursday of every month. So next month, it will be at the same time on March 2nd. Upcoming topics, well, certainly one of them is going to be our take on the Gartner Magic Quadrant for business intelligence and analytics platforms. Of course, we don't know when that's going to be finalized and released. So the date, when we present on it will be based on immediately after it's released. We try not to advertise them a month in advance. If we know the topics a month in advance, it's not news. And so, we try to do it based on the most current events. And of course, we want your suggestions about things that you would like to see us cover through these presentations. And finally, Qlik World. Qlik World, we really look forward to seeing you. It's been so long since we've connected with you live. There is a question, will the slides or PDF be available for partners? The slides, no. If you need some content from it, feel free to email us at compete@qlik.com. The recording itself will be made available as of tomorrow and for about 3 months. So that's one of the questions that just came in. David or Ricardo, as there's no additional questions, do you have any final thoughts for the audience?
Ricardo, after you.
No, I just would like to make and I like that we are available for you guys to support you on your sales cycle. Please reach out as soon as possible, as you know that you have competition. The sooner the better, especially with Power BI. If we are able to remove from the conversation that Power BI is free and all that, we can help you with that. Please reach out and we will try to help you as much as we can. I think there is a question.
I did answer the question. It was about the slider PDF.
No. There's another one. Would it be possible to get information on why Qlik is better than Tableau for Salesforce?
Yes. So there is some content around that. I do remember a presentation called 8 or 9 points of integration with Salesforce. I'll see if I can dig that up. Send us an email to compete@qlik.com. But I'm more than happy to jump on a call with you as well to have discussion around it. But one of the base reasons is, first of all, that Qlik doesn't really have a problem with transactional sources, whereas it's really not a strength of Tableau. So that's one of the very first ones. Embeddability, embedding in Salesforce is something that's much easier for Qlik than it is for Tableau. But yeah, we can talk about a lot more of that offline. And if there's not enough content on the partner portal, I'll see if I can't get it published there as well.
And Katie, if I could just follow up from your earlier request. This is Dave Howland. Thanks so much for your time today, folks. I would echo exactly what Ricardo said, and that is these data engineering pipelines can get awfully complicated, awfully fast. There's a lot of competition in this space. I'm your partner in all this. So if you ever have questions, I'm here for you, please. And thanks for your time again.
Again, thanks for all joining us. We hope to see you all here next month at the same time, and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.